I'm Stila Webb.
And I'm Shuvom.
I'm going to write my first fiction novel this year.
And I'm going to film it.
And we're going to release one video every week.
And if you keep up with Stila's word count, by the end of 2017, you'll have...
your book crispier.
God damn it, Siri.
Alright, campers. We wanted to break up pacing into 2 videos for reasons of pacing, so the first one didn't get too long. Quick update before we start part 2. You guys, if you're playing at home, should be past your break into 2 at this point. You should be in the fun and games section, meaning you should have some sort of montages, you should be paying off the premise. Your main character has done some sort of action, pulled something off the wall to just say they're on the adventure, and so now you're in the fun and games. Right, Stila?
Yes. Yes, I'm in the fun and games.
Are you?
I am.
How many words do you have so far?
15,455.
Okay. And just to show you guys that I'm playing along too, my current word count on Infinity Squad 3 is 63,419.
It's sick. Oh, so bad.
I'm supposed to be a couple weeks ahead of you guys anyway, so you'll actually see my word count go down over the weeks. I'm doing some editing. I'm almost at 70,000 words and realized I hadn't hit my midpoint yet.
Oh, dude.
So I have to go back and put in some plot threads to make sure it moves along faster.
It's even longer than Infinity Squad 2.
But in a couple weeks, you'll see me get back on the horse with you guys and do my 500 words a day. So you'll see my word card start going up, but we'll start keeping track of that too. That's right. But let's talk about pacing. First up is story arcs. Last time we talked about going like this, drawing them out like that, but we're going to change it up a little bit. And we're going to go from the bottom up. If you, again, just like last time we talked about reader interest versus time, here's how your story arc should go. A story arc is a challenge the main character it comes across and has to solve. So the interest in that challenge grows and grows and grows until it peaks at some sort of unbearable tension. You know, something has to happen. And a decision is made and the main character starts resolving it. But there's 2 ways to go now. You could have that story arc go back down to 0 and then start the next thing. But you don't want your story to look like this. You don't want the McDonald's of pacing.
You're going to have more than one arc in your book, so instead of allowing one arc, the first arc, to come to a conclusion...
Peter out.
To peter out, right as it's starting to fall off, you want to start your second arc. And then just as it's starting to fall off, you want to start your third arc. And then that one goes all the way to your finale.
As do your first 2 arcs. So whatever your story arc number 1 was, and number 2, they all come to a head in the finale.
So instead of resolving this one, you just let that hang and continue to screw with everything else a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit to remind people it's there. Then you resolve everything here in one big, nice, neat bow.
Yeah. The reason this works for pacing is you can't just have one story arc the entire time. You can't keep it at 11 and keep interest. It's going to drop off. But you don't wait for it to drop off. You introduce a new problem, and then before it drops off, introduce a new problem. For example, in Star Wars. I consider the 3 arcs of Star Wars A New Hope to be Luke is trying to get off the planet, so you gotta fight the Raiders and meet Obi-Wan and get Han Solo, the Maz Eisley Cantina. Then Luke is trying to save the princess, so you realize where the princess is, there's all the dressing up of stormtroopers and saving the princess. But before saving the princess falls off, the princess is in danger again, and he has to fight the Empire, defeat the Dark Star. Death Star.
The Death Planet.
Defeating the Death Planet. Defeating the Death Star, he's saving the princess at the same time, and he's really getting off the planet. He's becoming the man he wanted to be. One way to make sure the pacing in your book always escalates is figure out what the 3 arcs are. They usually have a kind of a mythical name. You don't want a symbolic name. You don't want to pin them down too much. But make sure your second arc kicks off before the first one ends.
The reason for this is because humans get bored with things that are the same. Even if it's super exciting and there's lots of fights, if nothing's getting more difficult or more dangerous, we tend to get bored with it. which is why you have to keep escalating the pressure on the hero to keep it exciting. We suck as humans.
Yeah. Oh, here's a fun thing.
Ooh, I like fun things.
Don't start arc number 2 when arc number 1 is at its crescendo or peak. You got to let it peter out a little bit. If you start the second arc here, people are going to wonder, wait, what happened to the first arc? If you set up like some sort of romantic tension and like, you know, it gets unbearable point, and then you jump to the male lead trying to save his company, people are going to be like, wait, what happened to that romantic tension?
Wait, are they gonna kiss? Are they gonna kiss? Oh my god, just kiss!
Yeah, so you have the first kiss, it's a little bit of a resolve, but then the company arc starts up.
Comprende?
Capiche? So next comes one of my favorite techniques for escalating tension throughout a book and helping your pacing, is the idea of stacking enemies. So, spoiler alerts, I guess, for everything I've ever written and everything I'm going to write in the future, because I use this technique every single time. And once I tell you the secret behind the curtain, you're never going to be able to read any one of my books again and get surprised. So I'm going to give you the best secret, the special sauce.
Oh no, not the special sauce.
Jim Butcher won't do this. Jim Butcher's not doing this.
This is a technique I have not yet mastered. Still working on this one.
Yeah. But once I explain it, you'll see that I did Infinity Squad. I did Infinity Squad 2. You'll see it in Infinity Squad 3. So again, I'm letting you guys behind the curtain. Jim Butcher won't do this.
I should really do this.
Well, that's why we're teaching it.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the idea about stacking enemies. You start off the book with one enemy. Let's say enemy X. So your main character is fighting that enemy, kind of going along. About a third of the way into the book, you introduce another more dangerous enemy, enemy Y. It's not really enemy X, could be enemy X on steroids. You know, a soldier gets a super injection, someone gets a powered suit, a whole new enemy. So now they're fighting enemy Y. Right before the end, you introduce enemy Z, okay? And that's even more dangerous than enemy Y and enemy X. And what do you guys do for the finale? They are fighting, your main heroes are fighting enemy X, enemy Y, and enemy Z at the same time. Okay? Here's the example. In Infinity Squad 1, again, spoilers for everything I've ever written. Spoilers for the free book that I'm making no money off of on Amazon. Yeah. So, what they're fighting first is the Hell Spiders, right? There's these alien spiders that are the size of horses, have these huge claws on this alien planet. They're fighting the Hell Spiders, trying to figure out what they are. They realize the Hell Spiders aren't really a threat, kind of. The soldiers start fighting their own bureaucracy. They're fighting their own generals. They're fighting their own sergeants. Their own internal kind of police people. So that's more dangerous than the Hell Spiders. The Hell Spiders can only kill them. These guys could throw them in jail. Then they realize there's another alien organism on the planet called the Brain Slugs.
They're the worst.
The Brain Slugs are the worst. The Brain Slugs will take you over kind of like, you know, zombies and vampires and mind control you. Even the Hell Spiders are afraid of the Brain Slugs. The military brass doesn't even know about the Brain Slugs. So Infinity Squad starts to fight the Brain Slugs, starting their own covert war. But in the finale, what happens? They're fighting the Brain Slugs while their own military brass is trying to work against them, and while the Hell Spiders are getting antsy and like starting to break the alliance. All three problems compound each other in the finale. So it's more interesting and more tightly paced than what's happening here.
In his finale, the Brain Slugs are actually using the bureaucracy. They're figuring out how the bureaucracy works and using that against our heroes. It's nuts.
Yeah. So again, if you want to increase the tension in your book, do the same thing. Start off fighting one hero, go, oh wait, no, this is the real hero. I'm sorry, fighting one hero. Start off fighting one enemy, have your heroes go, oh wait, no, this is the real enemy. Then, a little bit after the midpoint, go, oh wait, no, this is the real enemy. And in the finale, all three enemies should stack.
Yep. And it makes for a rip-roaring, rootin'-tootin', snarling finale.
Yeah. A great example of this is Archer episodes.
Oh, God, yes.
They call this the rolling ball of chaos, where little problems roll into bigger problems, and then everyone's problem comes to the head at the same time.
It's exactly the same idea, and it's always so good.
Yeah. So we'll go watch some early Archer episodes on FX or FXX.
Or Netflix.
Netflix. And you'll see they do this. A place where they could have done this but didn't is...
Suicide Squad.
What happened in Suicide Squad?
They dropped the ball on so many things.
No, give me more specifics.
In Suicide Squad, they had the Joker as an antagonist that they could have used. They had Waller as an antagonist, and then they had the Enchantress as an antagonist. And unfortunately, they didn't use them all at the same time. Like, why didn't the Joker come into the final fight and become a problem and screw things up?
A chaotic problem.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, Amanda Waller was sort of a problem, but not really. Like, she didn't do anything.
But then at the finale, why didn't they try to defeat the Enchantress while the Joker's causing chaos in the background, making their job harder, and Amanda Waller is undercutting them, like, you know, with her bureaucracy or with her rules? Like, how fun a finale would that have been?
Yeah, it would have been better. Almost anything would have made that movie better.
So I actually did, again, a spreadsheet for Infinity Squad 1. I put all the enemies, and I ranked them in order of how bad they were, and it looked just like this in Excel. And I put the worst enemies later in the book, and then finally, my last fight was enemy X plus enemy Y plus enemy Z all at the same time, and that's what made it, you know, it made it definitely fun to write.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes what you'll find in books is people will do something where they'll try to add new enemies, but they'll do it in such a way that either they come out of nowhere, or they're there in the beginning, but they're so impotent in the beginning that you have no idea why you're supposed to be scared of them. So doing this, pacing them out like this, actually helps to keep all of your enemies scary and have danger to them without making them seem like pansies because they've been there the whole time and haven't done anything, or having them come out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah. And can you guys kind of see the rising arcs, you know, parallels here? This is concrete enemies. Rising arcs are more just kind of problems for the hero to solve. They could be team problems or emotional problems or actual enemies. But this and rising arcs, nice parallel, I think. So those are two ways to control the pacing of your overall book, but let's take it one level deeper.
We don't have the noise. So another thing to be careful of in your fights or scenes is to not let anything go too long. Even if it sounds exciting, if it goes too long, that might be a problem. Jack Reacher 2 is a great example of that in the final fight scene. You're watching it, you've been there the whole time, things are interesting, you're waiting for that final fight, you really want the bad guy to go down, and he goes down, sort of, and he gets back up, and then he goes down again, but then he gets back up, and then he goes down again, and he gets back up. It got to the point where we were making fun of it while we're watching people get beat up.
Yeah, we called it the Omni fight because it was like they were chasing something, then they were fighting on the ground, then they were fighting on the rooftop,
Then they had guns,
then they had knives, and they were wrestling, and then they were like...
and then they had to fall from a really far place, and they had to get up and punch each other, and we're just like, oh my god, and already somebody hit somebody and have it be over.
Then they're breaking bones, and then like... And their compatriots are just sitting next to them with guns being like, we could just shoot the guy. So, yeah, we called it the Omni fight. When they did it in They Live, they did it for comedic potential. But here in Jack Reacher, it was actually unintentional comedy. But...
It's kind of putting too many good things into one bowl. And the problem with that is it tends to muddy everything. Instead of just enjoying, okay, they're going to have a gun battle, or they're going to fight hand-to-hand on a roof, that one thing, but everything they could possibly do into one big fight, it's going to be epic. No, it just gets boring.
Yeah. You know what I just realized they should have done?
What?
They should have stacked their enemies. Jack Reacher was on the run from the military police, and he was fighting the bad guy, and he had a partner he didn't trust.
You're absolutely right.
They should have stacked those enemies in the final fight to make it more interesting. Each enemy could have, just as you think Jack Reacher's going to win, the new enemy comes in and undercuts him. That would have made it interesting. So do those rising arcs, stack those enemies, but in individual scenes, don't have everything happen in a fight scene.
Yeah. One dessert at a time.
But now, let's take it one level deeper.
Blah.
To paragraphs.
Blah.
So we had some viewers submit some works, but instead of embarrassing them, we're going to go straight to the source and fix some Harry Potter, Draco Malfoy / fiction instead. Rick, if you're watching this part with your daughter, stop. Oh god, I can't believe we're...
Alrighty then.
Oh god, alright. Before he could stop himself, before he could think about what he was doing, Harry had leaned down and captured Draco's lips. There was a moment of hesitation before Draco wrapped his arms around Harry and held on for dear life. All the while, the kisses were growing in passion, in a need that neither of them understood. Before Draco had realized what was happening, Harry had him up against the wall, his robes around his ankles, and his tongue in the blonde's mouth, fighting for dominance, fighting for control, fighting for everything they could never admit to feeling, which hung so perilously in the balance. Every wall they had built up was crashing down around them. Every nasty name and cold sneer came tumbling down to leave them with nothing but the basis of desires. Harry could feel Draco's hard wand pressing against his abdomen. It only served to feed his own desire. I need you, now. Draco moaned, and all Harry could do was politely oblige. His wand twitched at the sound of his voice, now painfully straining against his slacks.
Alrighty then.
Alright.
That is one big paragraph.
That is a big, hard paragraph.
Yeah.
So, okay, Stila, what's the most important part of this paragraph? Where's the power sentence here? I think I'm looking...
Fighting for dominance, fighting for control, fighting for everything they could never admit to feeling which hung so perilously in the balance.
You don't think it's I need you now?
That's the second one.
Okay, so the first thing I would do is to isolate this or to emphasize it, I would make it look like that. So, make I need you now its his own thing. That's the first thing I would say. That gives it instant punch. Now, what were you saying?
I was saying fighting for dominance, fighting for control.
Well, you're saying put a thing here?
Yeah.
Paragraph break? Okay. Why did you want to do that?
Because that's when it becomes very emotional. In the above part of that paragraph, they're talking about what they're doing. Underneath that, once they start actually kissing, it becomes an internal of what's actually happening with them emotionally.
Yeah. And with just those two small changes, this actually looks a lot better. Now it's a couple manageable paragraphs. I'd maybe cut the first two down, but that third paragraph with just one line, that has some punch now. You can really feel like, Harry and Draco's yearning for each other, which is obviously, something they built up a lot of subtext in the film. So you can really feel that coming out by just putting it on its own line. Its own paragraph break. Yeah. No, I think this is it. This is good.
Print it.
Print it. Ship it. Book 8. So that was paragraph pacing, and a couple simple changes made something unreadable to something, Pulitzer Prize winning. But let's go one level deeper with sentence and dialogue pacing.
Qua.
With yet another Harry Draco fanfic. This one where they get locked in a room together and have a pillow fight.
Wah, wah, wah.
The setup for this scene is that Harry and Draco were arguing a lot, so Ron's older brothers locked him in a secret room in the castle together, and now they're trapped. So, we're going to talk about dialogue pacing. You want to read this one? Yeah, you
Sure.
go.
The two boys gasped and leapt.
A little bit more, Andrew.
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
This is the description. The two boys gasped and leapt forward, banging their fists on the door. The hell? Draco shouted. Let us out! Fred, George, Harry pleaded. This isn't funny. He looked at Draco. We can magic ourselves out. Idiot, we gave our wands to Weasley D and Weasel Dumb. Draco spat out. We're stuck in here, thanks a lot to you. Me? Harry exclaimed. You're the one who started all this, Malfoy. If it weren't for you strutting about... Fuck. Me?
Please don't curse.
Sorry. We'll fix it in post. Me? Harry exclaimed. You're the one who started this, Malfoy. If it wasn't for you strutting about as if you owned the whole damn place, we wouldn't even be here. And you... Draco began to say something, but he couldn't really quite finish it. Whatever, Potter. Just so long as we're stuck in here, stay out of my way. That's not really possible considering there's only one room. Harry glared.
Harry glared. Harry glared those words.
He glared those words some. They both stood in silence for a while, listening to the chaos happening on the other side of the door. Let us out immediately. Let them out immediately, came Hermione's voice. They'll kill each other in 2 seconds, Ron's voice came out, slightly squeaky with unease. Crabbe and Goyle...
You can stop there.
Okay.
So looking at this visually, what's the problem here?
Cut.
Right, so this is the opposite problem of the previous Harry Draco /fic, which was too blocky, too slow. This is trying to make things too fast and have too many things going on. Alright, how would we fix this? It's good, I think, to have Draco say the hell, Harry plead for Fred George, but around... One thing I would point out right away, they both stood in silence for a while. That's trying to bring the pace down, right? They've hit across their disaster and there's no way out of the room. They both stood in silence for a while. That's what the words are saying. But the pacing is still fast. The pacing is still every sentence is its own paragraph.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's kind of one of the things that happens with dialogue. Naturally, each different person talking has to be its own paragraph. So the trick is to find a spot within the discussion that you can add a paragraph of description or feeling that will kind of break that up visually and for the reader to catch their breath through the conversation. And this is here in the one we're looking at when they're stuck in the closet and we're listening for a while.
It's a dueling room. It's a secret dueling room that also just happens to have pillows in it. Because
Alrighty then.
after this argument, Harry and Draco have a pillow fight.
Of course they do.
Well, what else are they gonna do? Okay.
But that would be a great place when they stood in silence for a while to just do some more description of how they were feeling, maybe exactly what they were doing. One stood on one side, one stood on the other. They glared at each other.
Well, so what I'm gonna do live on camera here is I'm gonna cut out the Hermione and Ron part, and I'm going to take the next part you're talking about, when they're kind of relaxing, coming down from it, and look, if you combine the paragraphs, you do it visually, now you can tell they're coming down. That big paragraph sits like this, and now they're coming down from it.
Much better.
Oh gosh, I got the whole thing here.
Yeah, wow, you downloaded a lot. That's in your Google search forever.
You can't just download one Harry Potter Draco Malfoy /. You got to get the whole series. All right.
Oh my god.
We got to see how it ends.
I think we know how that ends. Oh, they're gonna have a wand fight later on in that one.
So again, you can have those kind of anticipation paragraphs like you would in a good romance like this, and you can just kind of slow down the pace of it.
Don't do that. I'm drinking.
So if anyone wants to send us any more Harry Potter Draco Malfoy /fiction for us to critique, just send it to hey@getwriting.wand, and we'll look at it and put it on the show. So now, one last tip from Stila.
Is sometimes you'll spend a really long time really just working so hard to get this one scene out of your head. You're going over it again and again. You've got that one song on loop to keep you in the mood, and you're just dragging it out of yourself, and it feels like such an epic battle to get it out on the page. And you go back later and you read it, and it's 2 paragraphs. That will totally happen. Or you'll get really in the mood. It'll just come out of you like super easy. You're in the zone. You're just banging those keys, and the word count is flying up. And it feels like it's not that long because you're going very quickly through everything, and then you go back and you've got 3.5 pages about a tree. So be aware of author's time dilation. It's a real thing. You always have to keep it in mind and kind of set that prose aside for a little while and then go look at it to get a good idea of what the pacing actually is and not just what it feels like it is when you're writing it.
When you go back and edit it later, look at it with fresh eyes, and you'll see this time dilation.
Yeah, so think about that when you're pacing. Don't just base it on how it feels when you're writing it.
Yeah. Good tip. Good tip. All right, so next week we're going to talk about something that's very helpful in pacing, which is dialogue. But we're going to talk about how to make interesting dialogue, how to make characters sound real, how to make snappy dialogue or meaningful dialogue. So that's coming up next week. So homework this week is to go back and do story arcs for your own book and make sure your second arc is going to start before your first one peters out. Or stack your enemies. Make a spreadsheet of your enemies in increasing severity, and then make sure they come in that order.
I get to do this homework too, because I don't think I've got either of those just right.
That's why we're doing this.
I'm not stacking crap.
Well, it should be though. I mean, how cool would that be to have the final gate?
It'll be great if I could actually do that.
Have Saccharin and your B story and your, the key and the goddess.
I hate you so much. There's no goddess. Got it gone.
Oh, you cut Saccharin out of the thing too?
No, not Saccharin. The god. I hate you so much right now.
So if you really want to send us your paragraphs and your dialogue and your pacing to see, maybe a page or so, definitely feel free to send it to us at hey@getwriting.wang. It's a real email address, we swear. Wayne sent us his first paragraph, his first page again, so we kind of, people are sending us multiple things, which is fine. So send it to us and we can kind of talk about pacing, show you what we mean with your specific example.
We can totally give you some tips and what we think about your work. So until then, Get writing. Wang!
Alright, so can we just kind of like lean into each other
I think
here?
we can, no, if I put my foot.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, can we just do the whole video like this? Like we just leaning against each other to show...
We're not in the middle.
Oh crap. Or would we go that way?
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
you shove, okay,
Go
okay,
that way.
okay.
Go, go.
No.